What's up, guys, and welcome back to Rougefx. We are back with another addition to the video series, A Stroll Through Infinity. I do appreciate all the love, the support, all the likes, everyone who chooses to comment down in the description below. I appreciate all the support across my social medias, Instagram, TikTok, as well as Telegram, and of course those who choose to participate within my membership program, as well as catch one-on-one mentorship sessions. It is an honor. It is honestly a blessing to be able to provide value as well as, top tier content to such an amazing audience and amazing industry. This is like I'm living my dream reality. When you understand that and you really can just comprehend that on a day-to-day basis, it really kind of just helps you just understand, how beautiful life is, how everything kind of just comes together. If you really kind of really step outside yourself for a little bit after, a pretty extravagant Forex trading journey. I mean, of course, it's not over yet, and it's, honestly barely just begun for me. However, for me to just have gotten this far in my journey, I can only thank God. I try every day, just to live it up and very much take nothing for granted, right? Because you truly only have one life. And I feel like if you have the conscious awareness to what you are doing on the daily and how it does very much accumulate and add up to a pretty substantial result, a lot of people can actually relate to trading a bit better and very much, understand that patience it's very much a virtue in this industry. Again, I do appreciate all the love and support. Well over 40,000 views on the channel, almost 1,000 subscribers. Those who do choose to support and understand my perspective on the market, I hope you guys have an amazing trading week. I hope you guys have an amazing trading year and continue to develop and obviously eventually find yourself in a profitable position. If you haven't already, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, because we do aim to post very much consistently. Ring that post notification, stay updated on all our videos. I do offer mentoring through my membership program as well as 3-hour Forex mentorship sessions. Without further ado, let's get started. So our first initial kind of setup opportunity honestly very much took place it was very much the lower time frame. We were able to identify our range within this quote-unquote manipulation, very much helping us identify our overall optimal trade entry and very much execute precisely as well as ethically. So as you can see, this ended up being our lower time frame result. As far as the risk reward ratio, we did end up closing this order out at well over a 1 to 10. If you look left to our overall entry, or I should say execution, you can definitely see our setup pretty much being displayed as a strong low, weak high. Our weak high definitely indicating that we definitely break even our setup and we let the rest run. If we identify our overall trading range, you can definitely understand price's overall intention, right? So we do have a slanted low as well as maybe an equal low or well over slanted low. It really just kind of depends on your eye and what you kind of identify as significant in your pretty much your trading plan, right? Because we definitely all live different lifestyles. Some people work a 9 to 5, some people like to travel, some people like to dwell within different hobbies as well as industries. It really is just preference, right? But of course, when you really understand how little of a time that Forex really takes, I mean, it really just takes identifying your setup, identifying liquidity and or inducement, and then taking your trade, right? Or at least being patient to identify your setup as more or least probable. And then, of course, executing your order. If we look directly below our liquidity and or inducement, you can definitely see that price reacted within an unmitigated wick of this bearish rejection block. We can identify our previous low as an overall protected low, as well as really identify it as, in whichever case, a point of interest, right? Because this is a pretty obvious or in whichever case, pretty common type of liquidity, right? It's a block. It's an bullish rejection block in whichever case, right? However, if I take my fib and measure out this rejection block, you can understand how precise these manipulations can be and how you can definitely take advantage of them, right? It is important to understand that there's no exact way how to trade. It really just depends on your imagination, what you're looking for, and how it correlates towards the overall practicality of the market, which being, a QM, right? Liquidity grab break of structure. When you understand that, you will understand how easy it is to very much transfer orders, or I should say the volume of, pretty significant orders within the market that is very much getting rated, or I should say, stops that are very much being triggered and then very much being stopped out. Identifying our overall trading range as well as setup, as well as internal range liquidity, correlating that towards our point of interest, you'll definitely understand why we did take this order, as well as why it did continue to hold, even if it very much retraced and really well over, reaching into discount pricing, taking out internal range liquidity, which happened to be maybe a week low, equal low. It really just kind of depends on, again, what you see within the market. As you can see below that, we do have a type of point of interest being, we definitely have a block, right? A rejection block that it seems to be bullish. Yes, a bullish rejection block being triggered within. And then at that point, what did price kind of really leave? If we correlate, this type of liquidity, which is, in whichever case, equal lows, you can see how it very much is relevant towards the overall setup itself, right? This is identifying yet another reason to trust and really kind of use your intuition, right? Because if we obviously turn this around, we can see that price is definitely liquidating a point of interest and or a previously protected high. And whichever case, price is simply dipping within this pool of liquidity, or in whichever case, sell stops triggering their orders and then obviously stopping them out. Yet another opportunity for, a scale in, to really kind of maximize your trading profits. Of course, we weren't actually here. I was definitely asleep. However, we are fortunate enough to, see our initial entry successful as far as reaching our take profit. This is indeed an example of a phenomenal trade entry, and I am very much grateful to be presented with this opportunity to have the knowledge and carry the knowledge as well as the experience to be able to have access to these opportunities, to obviously higher dimensions within this realm, right? And I don't say that to just be all mystical. No, I'm saying that because it's literally what money or what abundance, wealth, prosperity, opportunity, right? It is important to understand that with this knowledge, you have access to this opportunity, to these opportunities. This is endless opportunities, whether it be a short, a long, whether it be from an AMD pattern, whether it be from a simple range-based optimal trade entry. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as understanding who you are as a person, first and foremost, and then understanding your worth and, the value you pretty much bring to an industry or society itself, or different communities within the globe. This particular trade entry was taken, I believe, on Monday mid New York session, right? Again, a phenomenal trade entry. Moving on to Wednesday, New York session, you can definitely see that price presented us with a pretty, it was a pretty bearish opportunity, right? It was pretty much understanding that in whichever case price magnetized towards these lows, or in whichever case trendline liquidity, we left a weak high, retested, mitigated a point of interest towards the left and continued towards the highs, and whichever case mitigated off of this unmitigated wick, or in whichever case formed a QM off of this unmitigated wick towards the left. Now, if I take my fib and measure this point of interest, which happens to be a protected high, it's easy to understand why we trusted this high to very much uphold. If we look towards the left, we definitely have a trend line that it doesn't necessarily do much for us. However, it is important to understand that trend lines are 90% stronger than any kind of horizontal line and or supply and demand and or support and resistance line, right? So it just kind of would just add to your confluence of events, as well as help increase your overall confidence, right? Because as you can see, we had little to no reaction towards this trend line. Price pretty much just reacted to my Fibbo extension and carried on its way. This ended up displaying a T2 opportunity, right? So in whichever case, our range was pretty much printed out. Price definitely left a type of liquidity, which would be maybe a weak high, retested, mitigated a point of interest towards the left, and continued for what internal range liquidity, and then continued on its way. This is an example of a T2 entry, or what I would very much like to call a failure to break the previous low or provide a lower low swing, right? So we swing higher, reaching for internal range liquidity, which might be a weak high, or it could definitely be a trend line, maybe even a slanted high, or very much, clear as day, act as an inducement, right? So in whichever case, a weak high, allowing price to very much react towards our point of interest, take out internal range liquidity, again, continue towards the lows, break even, retest with maybe, some type of corrective behavior and continue towards the lows. This is how you identify price action. This is how you read market structure. This is how you are able to scale in, opportunities pretty much at will. Of course, it really just, of course, look, when you got to understand that balance plays a key role within, trading in general. So there's very much, patience as well as accountability that's going to have to be, upheld. And of course, carrying the awareness that, one trade can definitely make or break you as far as your emotions, as far as your capital, and of course, as far as your decision making, right? This trade was taken Wednesday, early New York session. Yet another phenomenal trade opportunity. It's about finding the opportunity within the chaos, right? So pretty much identifying our range. So pretty much this low acting as a weak low and this high acting as a strong high. That would help us really kind of identify which lows are protected and which lows are mere inducements and or liquidity, so that we are caught on, the right side of the market instead of the alternative, or worse, getting into early, getting stopped out, and watching the market go on its way. Again, this is going to be the type 2 entry. If you did want more information, I do have a list of secret concepts I did come up with. You can definitely look that video up within the playlist section. We're going to move on to our last and final trade of the week. Now, for our last trade of the week being on Thursday morning, so in whichever case, New York session, as you can see, price left a pool of liquidity in buy stops right above this slanted high. Slanted highs are a type of liquidity, right? So this is pretty much identifying this as not only a weak high, right? Not only a weak high, not only a high that didn't necessarily break towards the highs or break a major high in general. We could also identify this as maybe a slanted high, of course, or maybe a three candle formation, right? Now, it is important to understand that a three candle formation very much acts as a type of liquidity. So in whichever case, we can take our, or I should say the top of this three candle formation and stretch it all the way out. We have internal range liquidity. So in whichever case, you can label this a weak high, strong low, right? How do you identify this as a strong low? Well, how do you identify this as a weak high? As you can see, we took out liquidity, we broke structure, retested, and continued towards the lows. In whichever case, leaving a imbalance or, maybe even a trend line. Now, how do you identify this as a strong low? Well, as you can see, price definitely rated sell side liquidity. We were provided with a choke, price retested, took out internal range liquidity, which if you go to the 3-minute, you can definitely tell or really identify the internal range liquidity or inducement as maybe a slanted low. For me, it was all the confirmation I needed to take this trade. However, you could have definitely waited on this bullish rejection block after to, in whichever case, mitigate this unmitigated wick to continue towards the highs. And of course, what do we aim for? We are already identifying these lows as protected, right? So every time price takes out internal range liquidity, or in whichever case retests or retraces, it's going to act as a protected low. So as you can see, price retraced, took out internal range liquidity, which happened to be what? Maybe a three candle formation, maybe even this unmitigated wick as a point of interest. And then you can definitely understand why price reacted towards this point of interest as it did. It's simply taking out internal range liquidity and continuing towards, in whichever case, or which in this range being a weak high, strong low. It is important to understand that in whichever case, price is definitely reaching for external range liquidity. But if we're taking our range from more of a, we're going to call it a bird's eye perspective, right? So it's pretty much zooming out and understanding the overall perspective on the market. We are understanding at that point that we are, in whichever case, taking out internal range liquidity, or in whichever case, reacting towards this weak high. But again, yes, of course, taking out internal range liquidity, reacting towards this unmitigated wick, and securing well over 12%. And this is for the day, right? So I want to say Thursday mid New York session, a pretty textbook trade opportunity if you do ask me. If you did make it this far in this video, I do appreciate all the love and support. If you did enjoy or learn anything from this video, if you did catch any kind of value from this video, I ask that you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, because we do aim to post consistently. I thank God for the opportunity for not only being able to attract profits throughout the market, but also provide value towards an industry that, I mean, I feel it needs it, right? A lot of people are, they're not aware what power this trading system holds just yet, but eventually, I mean, they'll click, or it will click, and they'll catch on. And I mean, for a lot of people, it'll be not necessarily too late, but it'll be that much harder, to accomplish these goals, and obviously attract these opportunities, because again, things become trendy, things become popular, and then they become saturated, and that's when everything becomes more expensive and really just scarce, right? So the earlier, or the faster, or the more open you are to opportunity, the quicker the blessings, the quicker the dots start to click, or the puzzle pieces start to connect, right? Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for all your love, support, as well as your time. Until next time on Jody FX, y'all have a good night. And as always, happy trading.